What's up, guys? M. Jones back in the house again for another new Blu-ray update. Today I'm going to talk about some movies that I've purchased in the past couple of weeks, if not month. I'm a little bit behind right now with all my Blu-ray updates, and I really apologize. I've been really busy lately, but that is no excuse, of course, for my fans. Today we're going to talk about a whole list of genres, a whole list of movies dated way back from maybe the 70s, 60s, all the way till now. So I'm really excited. And I have a special feature tonight. What we're going to talk about is a movie that I really suggest you try to check out. It's not on Blu-ray, unfortunately. I had to go DVD, which I hate doing. But I really want you to check it out. It's a really funny movie from the 80s. That'll be last. We'll get to that. Alphabetical order, as of course. Okay, first movie I want to talk about, 8 Mile. Had to get this one. I saw it pretty cheap at Best Buy. I think it was in like the $7.99 bin. You know, too good of a movie not to pick up. You know, I really, really love this movie. I remember I went and saw it in the theaters. I loved the rap battles. I loved everything. I loved how Eminem, he played Jimmy Smith, and you know, he had a crazy lunatic slutty mom, Kim Basinger, and he just lived on the streets in Detroit pretty much, and just really had just awful luck with everything. And he was white too, and you know, not the most popular thing in a rap battle. So he had a lot of different things going on. And you know, the late Brittany Murphy's in this movie. She's outstanding in this movie. And you know, they end up dating and stuff like that. And I just really love this movie, and I just thought it was such a good movie. And the soundtrack, holy shit, the soundtrack was great. I remember in high school, we used to listen to Lose Yourself. And we used to listen to all these different songs from this soundtrack before football games to get like pumped up and stuff. Well, I gotta tell you, watching this movie again brings me back to like being in high school locker rooms, focusing, listening to my headphones, getting ready for a football game or wrestling match or just any kind of sport really. And I remember I carried it into college. It's just such a great soundtrack, and Eminem just kills it in the soundtrack and also in this movie. And I love the very end where he has everyone in his arms swinging like that. That famous part in the trailer. Just awesome. Check this movie out, though. Really good. And love Cheddar Bob in this, too. Great flick. Next one. I remember this was a special release a couple months ago, and I did buy this a couple months ago. I just forgot to review it, and I apologize. But Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and a real young and skinny Adam Sandler, when Adam Sandler was actually funny. Airheads. Just such a funny movie. Just three guys, post-grunge rock, alternative rock, hard rock kind of band. They just want to get on the air. And they take a whole radio station hostage. And Chris Farley's in this. Unfortunately, the late Chris Farley. He plays that really funny cop. Awful cop, D-bag cop, but he's, I still like him. And Michael McKean, who not a lot of people know, he was the cop in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And he's always kind of like a jerk-off in movies. And he was exceptional, I thought, in Saturday Night Live. He just kind of disappeared. I don't know. I really liked him. But, check him out, too, in his filmography. He has a lot of good movies. But just love this movie. All they want to do is just get on the radio. So they hold the place hostage with these machine guns. And if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you because it's pretty cool what they actually are. So, check this out. It's a really funny movie. Don't expect any Oscar-type acting. It's just a fun movie, and it's hysterical, too. A lot of cool lines with your buddies. Change up the genre a little bit, getting a little more serious. This movie's back from, my gosh, 1967. So remember in the beginning I talked about, you're going to see some movies, spoke about with from the 60s and 70s. Well, here's the first one. Cool Hand Luke. It's so cheap. I don't know why it's so cheap at Best Buy. It's such a great movie, and they could charge more because it's a great flick. I'm guessing they'd charge a little bit less because probably transferring the '67 movie into now's Blu-ray format is probably really difficult and probably isn't the best as some movies that are released now that go right to Blu-ray, which I understand because that's technology. That's the gap of technology from then to now. Excuse me. So just you got to check out this movie. It's just the struggle of Paul Newman. He plays the character of Cool Hand Luke, the main character, and he just nothing goes right for him. He gets just abused like crazy by Strother Martin. Strother Martin was Joe McGrath from Slapshot, the owner, and he has a very that kind of voice, like the "what we have here is failure to communicate." It's just the way he talks is just brutal. It's just like, oh, it's like paper cuts constantly. But the guy's such a great actor, and he played like basically the warden who just beats the shit out of Paul Newman the whole time. But check out this movie. It's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. Especially if you're a movie buff, you got to have an eclectic mix, and just you have to have decades of movies that you appreciate. This is definitely one of them. But check it out. Great movie. Next one. I remember I bought this. I think this was one of the first couple DVDs I ever bought. I remember the first DVD I ever bought was, I believe, Pearl Harbor. Well, this was probably like the third or fourth. I remember getting this at Circuit City way back in the day when Circuit City was hotter than ever and Best Buy wasn't even a thought. But Counting Monte Cristo. I have this on DVD, but I gave it to a good friend of mine who's battling cancer, so he has movies to watch in the theaters. So I felt like that was a good thing to give that away. But so I had to replace it. I got the Blu-ray of it, and I just love this movie. It's the whole basic idea of revenge, of being basically, being in trouble for no reason. He didn't do anything wrong. That being Jim Caviezel. So he learns all these different things on how to be really good with swords and how to fight and battle and stuff like that. So he's completely just screwed over by Guy Pearce, and that's his buddy. And Edmond Dante is Jim Caviezel's character. So his friend screws him over, backstabs him. He goes to prison, while the other one doesn't. So he finds all these ways to learn all this battle-like type stuff with in prison to pretty much try to get out of prison and try to pretty much avenge the time lost in his life being in prison. So I'm not going to tell you what happened, but it's just awesome. The whole movie's incredible. The very end fight scene in the field is impeccable. I loved it. This movie is so good. You have to check it out, and it's very cheap at most stores and also Amazon. I would definitely suggest this movie. I loved it. I think it came out like 2001 or 2000. This one, man, I had to get this. One of my coworkers, my buddy Brian, he told me this movie a long time ago, probably 6 months ago. He was like, you got to check this movie out. I can't believe you haven't seen it. Especially if you like comedies. And I love comedies. Like, from the last 5 years, I think comedy's been really good. And maybe the last 10 years, I'll say. But Death at a Funeral. This movie is so funny. And when I first heard of this movie, I had no idea what it was about. And I just figured it would be kind of stupid. It'd be a lot of silly jokes. And the acting would be really just subpar. I have to disagree with everything I thought about. When I finally watched this movie, probably 3 weeks ago, I laughed so hysterical the entire time. The movie is awesome. You have like Chris Rock's in it. You have, what's his name? You have James Marsden in it, who's absolutely hysterical. And the movie is just so funny because all this stuff happens, and it's just a great movie. It's just a fantastic movie. James Marsden plays like this guy who is like scared to meet a family of Zoe Saldana, and he basically just loses his mind by taking these pills because he's nervous. Well, he becomes so weird, and he has to meet these parents at a funeral, which is also awkward. And the way he acts is just so funny. And he's on some kind of like ecstasy, like Molly or something like that. And he's just like, hello. He's just like so silly, but a really good movie. I would definitely suggest you check it out. Death at a Funeral. All right, the next one. I'm a big Jim Carrey fan. I think he takes a lot of shit. I'm not really sure why he takes so much shit, but this movie, I Love You, Phillip Morris. I did not expect it to be the way this movie was at all. Phillip Morris is a guy who lives a life, kids, wife, he's a cop, he's from the South, he's very typical, but he has a lot of secrets. One of them, he's homosexual, and two, he's a huge scam artist. And he just gets sick of his life, just gets completely sick of his life and starts scamming people for money. And the cops catch up to that and everything, and he goes to jail. Well, he falls in love with Phillip Morris, who is Ewan McGregor. And Jim Carrey is basically doing everything he can to try to stay close to Phillip Morris and be lovers and best friends and all that. And the whole movie's about just scamming people constantly. And it's actually a decent movie. It's a bit graphic. It's a bit graphic too for a rated R feature. And, I thought Jim Carrey was really funny in this movie. He plays just a very strange Southern kind of guy. I don't know. I don't know. If you have thick skin, enjoy this movie. It's a good movie. Don't be ignorant. It's good. Good flick. This brings me back to being a kid. I had to buy it mainly because, when I have kids someday, I really want them to watch this. And also, I have a 6-year-old niece that I really want to watch this as well when she comes to sleep over. But The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This is one of those that it's so good. It has so many different stories to it. There's so many different options you can watch. So I like it because it's not just like a movie in just one story. There's multiple stories in this. And the transfer from way back in the day of making this movie to now with the Blu-ray is just impeccable. I was very pleased. I was very surprised to see how well this was. But you got to get this for your kids. If you're in my age range, from anywhere from like 18 to 35, I think you'd still appreciate Winnie the Pooh. I feel like Winnie the Pooh now isn't real well known for kids, so this kind of keeps it going. You don't want this to go in extinction. You want people to really know what this is that are much younger than 18 to 35. So definitely a good thing to add to your repertoire of movies. Awesome movie and series and stories. It was good. Okay, I have 2 more Blu-rays and then our DVD special thing I was telling you about. Okay, this movie, I remember when I was a little kid, I used to always love watching, I used to always love going to the movie stores and like movie rental places, like Movie Merchants, West Coast Video, Blockbuster Video, all those type of places to get movies. I used to love doing that on a Friday night with my mom because my dad worked. So I used to love going there. And this movie just reminds me of that so much because when I used to rent movies in the early 90s when I was a little boy, I used to always see previews and stuff of this movie Say Anything. I used to always see I know it's in the 80s, but I used to always see like reference to this and always see some kind of like poster of it. I used to always see that in movies in the 90s. I don't know why. I used to always just see previews of it. And I always want to know what the hell is this movie all about. Well, John Cusack, okay, he plays Lloyd. And he's in love, in lust before he gets to know her. In lust with the most popular girl pretty much in school. And she's real beautiful. And her name's Diane, played by Iona Skye, who I really don't know much about. Anyway, John Cusack plays Lloyd. And he does everything he can to like get to know her, take her out, court her, all that kind of stuff. Well, eventually they become really infatuated with each other, which is crazy. But the crazy, lunatic, jealous, nuts, creepy, very deranged father of hers will do everything he can to keep, Lloyd away from her. And he's very protective. He's very protective. He's nuts. And the movie it just shows how, he will do anything. And this picture right there, John Cusack with that, boombox, is a very famous scene. And you'll see why he does that. It's a great part of the movie, and it's a fantastic movie to check out. I will say this. I've always noticed John Cusack's movies, he always puts his sister, Joan Cusack, in, which I've always really liked. I thought that's really cool. But for him in this movie, I thought he was just kind of overdoing his role. I don't know, like, he was way too forward and just way too overbearing. And if that was the role, for him to be that way, that's one thing. But I thought his acting lacked a little bit in this movie. But I did like this movie. It's a great movie. But his acting was just a little too much. I don't know, a little too much for me. Check it out though, great movie. Okay, the last Blu-ray I'm going to talk about, I don't know where the hell this guy went, but my God, Chris O'Donnell, he was Robin in the Batman Forevers and Batman and Robin movie, and I really liked him. I liked him in Mad Love. I liked him in a bunch of things. And obviously, he's great in this movie, Scent of a Woman. But I never see him anymore. I know he's on TV every now and then, but I thought he was a good actor. But I think he was kind of like that too monotone, too one-dimensional kind of actor, like Emilio Estevez and Thomas Hayden Church. Like they're just too dim in the light of acting, and I think that might have hurt him because I don't see him at all anymore. And I liked him in The Chamber as well with, what's his face? Gene Hackman, The Chamber. He was really good in that. But this movie's fantastic. He's basically learning the whole gift of life, learning how to be good to a woman, be good to his job, be good to himself. And he falls in love with this girl he finds beautiful, but he's taking care of a blind man. And the blind man's Al Pacino. He was an Academy Award winner for this role, Al Pacino was. And he kind of plays, I think he was a lieutenant colonel, and his name was Frank. Frank Slade. And he's always like, hoo-ah! He always has that crazy Al Pacino, just being himself, excuse me. Not doing an impression, what am I saying? And, he learns from him. And at the same time, Al Pacino learns from Chris O'Donnell's character. Chris O'Donnell's character was Charlie. And they're both learning from each other. One to relax a little bit more, and the other to really get serious with themselves. And it's just a great transition, and it's also a great transaction of thoughts and emotions to each other. And, he teaches Chris O'Donnell how to really, know how to love a woman and be good to one. And I just love this movie. It's a fantastic flick. I think it was like 1992 it came out, and you have to watch this movie. It's a really good movie. Just classic Al Pacino. And he really steals the scenes in that movie. He makes you really pay attention. So definitely check out that. Okay, so I hate buying DVDs. I've said that many times. Just because I know they're going to be so obsolete. Do I think they're going to be popular again someday? I don't. Because I think people are more stingy about how it looks clarity-wise on TV. And DVD is always going to be second place to a Blu-ray or an HD movie. So, but I had to get this because I don't think this will ever go Blu-ray. There's no way. But check out the movie from the mid-'80s, early '80s, Class. This movie is really good. It's actually, it's one of those movies where it's an obvious movie. Like, what's going to happen. The movie's not too hard to follow. But the plot is this. Rob Lowe and Andrew McCarthy are both college roommates. Rob Lowe is more fun, he's crazy, he's wild. Andrew McCarthy's very just naive, very virgin-like, very kind of kid-like, kind of immature. And Rob Lowe wants to get him laid. He's like, dude, we got to get you laid. And so things happen where maybe the character Jonathan, who's Andrew McCarthy, meets with a certain older woman right here, who is Jacqueline Bisset, who I've always had a crush on. She is hot as hell for an older woman. She might be a mother to somebody. And things all just go crazy after that. You gotta check this out. I'm not gonna tell you. It's a really hard find. You can get it on Amazon though for sure. But if you try to go to like a movie store, good luck. This movie's really hard to find. And I highly doubt this will go Blu-ray. But check this movie out. It's a great movie. And I think it's very funny as well. Didn't do well on Rotten Tomatoes, but that doesn't always matter. Because comedies, I think, get a very, very shitty rap with Rotten Tomatoes. So check this out. Great movie. So that is my September 28th Blu-ray update. I hope you enjoyed listening and talking about all the Blu-rays I talked about today. And I hope to get some more out pretty soon. I'm definitely trying to pick up some more ideas on my lists for top 10. And definitely also write out the top 10s. But I will have more of those coming up real soon. And I'm excited that a couple days from now is October, which means Halloween, which is the best part of the year because Halloween's awesome. And all the horror movies that come out and all the movies I want to watch again because it's horror movie season. But I'm really excited to partake. So until next time, you take it easy and bye.